Hi there everybody, we are going to look at pie charts today, everyone's favourite way of showing data. So if you don't know what a pie chart is, I'm sure many of you do, it's a way of representing a survey or an outcome in a circle. Alright, so every single result will be represented in a circle where the circle represents everything. Alright, so 100%, all the outcomes potentially. And each sector represents a proportion, not an amount, not a number, literally a proportion of the total outcome. And if you're given the amount of people, you can use it as fractions to calculate the value of each sector. All right, so looking at this as an example, the pie chart shows that 40 people in year 8 to travel to school. All right, so we know that the whole lot represent 40, and now we're trying to interpret what that means when answering a question. So what is the most popular method of travel? Well, obviously, I hope you can see from the diagram that walking has got the biggest section here. Walking has got the biggest section. So walking is the most popular one. How many people cycle to school? Well, because the whole lot represents 40, and this looks like a quarter to me, then I'm going to do 40 divided by 4, and that's going to give me 10. All right, so that would say 10 people cycle to school. Right, you've got a second chart over here that shows how year 9 students travel to school. All right, so that's how they travel to school. So you can see there's a smaller portion of bus, certainly car an awful lot bigger proportion, and then walking a small proportion. Of course, there's no one apparently year 9 that cycles. All right. So, in which year did the most students catch the bus? All right. Well, if I'm looking at the bus specifically, I've got this here, and that looks like an eighth. An eighth of the students. Potentially over here, eighth of the 40, so maybe around about 5. But when I'm looking at this one, it's definitely a quarter of this lot, but I've not been told how many pupils there are in year 9. So I can't actually definitively answer that question. I know there's a higher proportion, but I don't know what the proportion of what amount there is, so I can't answer that question. That's what it says. Oh, there you go. So he says you cannot tell because the pie chart shows the proportion, not the amount. You don't know how many year 9s were asked. Well, there you go. All right, so a bit of a trick kind of question. So when we're talking about it right at the beginning about each sector representing a proportion, it does, but without some additional information to tell us how many are in that whole circle or maybe part of that circle, then we can't do much else about it. Okay. Right, so interpreting pie charts. So let's have a look. So you're usually given the degrees of a sector. You need to calculate the number of people in a sector. And in order to do that, you need to divide the total by 360. And then you need to multiply it by the number of degrees in the sector. Clear? No, I doubt it. Right, let's have a look at an example. Here we go. So we've got 72 people. So that means the whole circle represents 72. All right. So if I were going to divide it by 360 degrees, all right, that would give me 1 degree. That would tell me what 1 degrees represents in terms of people. Now, it'd be a fraction of a person, but ultimately that's what I'd have to do. I'd have to take the 72, which is the whole lot, and then divide it by 360. And then from there, I would times it by whatever number I need to kind of get to equate to find the number. All right, so we'll do it. Okay, let's do it. So a car, so 72 divided by 360, so that gives me 1 degree's worth, and then times it by 160 because that's how many degrees car represents. All right, so that's going to give me 32 people. All right, makes sense. Then do the repeat for the next one. So 72 divided by 360, always divided by 360, and then times it by the degrees, 120, so 24, and then finally the bus, 72 divided by 360 times by 80, so that means it's 16 people. And what you will find here is that these three numbers, 32, 24, and 16, have to add up to 72 because there were 72 people asked, and that's the whole circle represents. So 16 plus 24 is 40, plus 32 is 72. So we're happy. Okay. Right. What about drawing them? Drawing's a little bit different because I need to figure out the angles to draw. All right, so you need to calculate the degrees in each of the sectors. So you need to know how many people there are in the table, all right, because that's going to represent the whole circle, all right. And then from there, you need to do 360 divided by that total, all right. I will go through that. You know why? Because that gives you the number of degrees of each person. or each answer, whatever it is. And then multiply it by the actual frequency. All right, so if you've got 4 people, you're going to do 360 divided by the total and times it by 4. All right, let's have a look anyway. So the table shows the data of people's favourite colours. All right, so we've got frequency of 9, 2, 7, and 12. Now 12 is obviously the biggest one, so you'd expect my pie chart to be quite a big chunk of blue, then obviously green, pink, and a small of yellow. That's the way you expect it to look. So total frequencies, first of all, so they add up to 30. All right, okay, so that's 30 people. So I'm trying to figure out how many degrees per person. All right, so what we said in here is you do 360 divided by the total. So when I do 360 divided by 30, it gives me 12. All right, I haven't written it on there, but it gives me 12. So that means every person represents is 12 degrees, and I'm going to times it by each of the frequencies. So 12, or 360 divided by 30, times by 9 gives me 108 degrees. All right, so that's what that one represents. I'm going to do 360 divided by 30 times 2 for yellow. Right, so that's going to be 24. And I'm going to do 360 divided by 30, and then times it by 7. That's going to give me 84. And then finally, 360 divided by 30 times by 12 is going to be 144. So these 4 here are my angles of my circle. All right, and then from there, this is about you checking that it adds up to 360, and then of course measuring the angles as you go. All right, so draw a line from the center to the top is a good place to go. And then in each case, so we've got a line to start with, and then you're going to measure an angle 180 degrees down here, and estimating it probably should go roughly around about there. All right, because it's a bit more than 90, isn't it? So around about there. All right, so let's have a look, 180 degrees, and there. All right, and that's going to be green. You're then going to measure from this line 20 here, 24 in that direction, which will give you the next one. It's going to be about 24. Okay, and obviously colour in yellow. And then you're going to do from this line 84, which I reckon is going to be down there, something like that. There you go, 84 degrees. And then the final bit, and we can check this, it should really just check it, that there to there should be 144 degrees. And of course that's bullet. All right, and that's my pie chart drawn. All right, please feel free to visit maths-school.co.uk to do some practice on these kind of questions. But obviously the video is there to access whenever you need to. All right, thanks for listening.